All right, everybody, what is going on? Let me do a couple things here. How's everybody doing? Today I am flying solo. I gotta share my screen here in Discord. All right, I think that worked. Today I am all by myself. Paul and Zach have other things going on. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm checking the audio levels. Everything looks good on my end. Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me. And I'm going to do my best to sort of juggle all these things by myself here. And I think we should be good. All right, cool. So we got a yes on that. So today, let me switch to this screen here. I'm going to do a little overview of TLR for you guys because you guys have been asking for it. I am by no means the authority on TLR, so I'm just really going to do my best to give you guys an overview and answer any questions that you guys might have. Let me just check on the things here. It looks like everything is good. All right, cool. So as you guys have questions, I'll try to answer them. I've got multiple windows open with chats and all sorts of things going on, so just bear with me. It doesn't look like there's a whole bunch of people watching right now, so that takes some of the pressure off. What do we got? Like 6 or 8 people watching. Sweet. All right, so let's get things started here. It looks like the picture is good. Everything looks good on my end. All right, so as mentioned, I'm going to be talking about TLR tonight, and I've got a few case studies, I guess, or a few things set up here, a few examples that we can kind of go over that are sort of in increasing levels of not difficulty, but what's the word? I don't know what the word is, but they're getting a little bit more complicated each time, and we'll play with it as we go. Hopefully I have enough info here for you guys for 30 to 40 minutes. But we'll see how this all kind of shakes out. Oh, cool. We got viewers on Facebook. We got YouTube, Discord, and I see Twitch as well. So thank you guys all for joining me today. So to get things started, maybe, yeah, I guess we'll start with this. I wasn't sure if I should jump into the Kickstarter and just sort of fire it off for you. But essentially TLR works, you guys kind of know how TLR works, right? TLR works by looking at what the demands are of industries that are on the route and what the supply is. And again, I am no expert at any of this, so I'm just going to do my best to sort of break it down into layman's terms and just show you by example. So what we have here, what I have set up is one piece of track with 2 industries along it right now. This first industry here is going to, let's see, it is producing palletized goods and it is consuming general goods. What we have up here in this interface is the start levels for each of these, which you can just click and drag. Right now I'm in Surveyor. You can actually do this in driver mode as well. And I'll show you guys how to do that as we work our way through that. But that's one of these nice new features with Surveyor 2 and the TLR function, is that you can adjust your commodity settings kind of on the fly. And it's sort of nice to be able to do that. So these are going to be our starting levels of what our inputs are and what our outputs are. And then below we have a slider as well for how much is going to get consumed and how much is going to get produced. And it gives you a little bit of an overview here. Palletized goods storage will be full in 3 minutes. And general goods will run out in less than a minute. So I'm not really entirely sure what this percentage, how this quantifies into like a time. It's best to just sort of reference your information here. Based on this, the dispatching system is going to look at what freight cars are available and any industries that are producing anything that could be used here. So we're going to go ahead and just drop all of this down a little bit. In fact, we'll make the output really low. And we'll start the input kind of low as well. So that way there's already some demand going on. What I have here is another industry, And this is what is going to provide us with the general goods. This is just a multiple industry new, a very basic industry, generic industry that you can kind of set to whatever you want. Here I have it set to general goods. You can configure this to have pretty much any commodity for loading or unloading that you want. And you would set it up in here. I can go over that if you guys are interested in that process, but it's pretty straightforward. You can select what your commodity is going to be and how much it's going to produce or consume. You have to set the track, the processes, and that's about it. So anyway, we can just hide that for now. But essentially what I've got here is just a basic industry set. It's already fully loaded with 100 out of 100 goods that are ready to ship out. And I've got it set to produce one general good. I don't know how often that is, every minute maybe. So that is going to be how quick it'll go. We can move this up to 2 and we'll go to save changes. So what's going to happen when I go to load up this session and we get this started is that the dispatching system is going to see that this industry is producing general goods and this industry here is consuming them. So let's go ahead and jump into driver. And in order to start up TLR, you just go up to the top here. What is this menu called? The windowed menu, and then you go to session options and living railroad dispatch. I don't think it's enabled by default. I think you have to enable it. So we're going to just set it to enabled. And that allows it to basically begin to start processing what sort of information is on here in terms of commodities. So we've got our locomotive selected, and right now it is set to player controlled. So we're going to set it to automatic scheduler, and it's going to take a moment, look at what is nearby, and it will start running. It's going to first shove the boxcar over to our general goods thing, pick up a few general goods, and then deliver it to this industry up here, which is asking for general goods. And I have the, what do you call that? Where is it? Commodity, not commodity over, the track path display. You don't have to have this turned on, but I have it turned on just so you guys can kind of see what's going on. It's a little bit easier to illustrate what the AI is doing when you can actually kind of see what its plan is. So after a few seconds, this is making its pickup. It's going to deliver it up to this industry here, as we can see. And I'm just going to hold shift just to speed things up a little bit. So the way that this works is the dispatching system is going to look at the whole route globally, but it's also going to assess whether or not this particular locomotive and engineer or crew can actually get to any of those industries. Like, I have these other industries over here set up as well, but it's not looking at those because it knows it can't get over there, right? So it's only looking along this section of track right now. Obviously, if you have a whole map, it's going to scan the entire map, and it's going to scan everything. So for whatever the reason is, it likes to pull past the industry, and then it's going to shove back to our industry over here. Now, what's going to happen eventually is the output, the palletized goods, is going to fill up probably before the general goods fill up. And once that happens, the demand is probably going to end. So let's see, we can go into enable editing and we can see what this will do. So let me just speed things up here so it can go do its thing. And we're going to max out the output. And I think, I could be wrong here, but I think because the output is totally full, it might not want to accept any more general goods. But I guess we're going to find that out in a second. Let's see if he goes back up. Oh, well, we have to save the changes, right? Okay, so he is going to go up and replenish this anyway, even though the output is full. I think what will happen is once the general goods input is full, it's going to stop the whole system altogether. So let's take a look and see. It unloads those. Speed things up a little bit here. All right, so let's go back to enable editing and let's max out general goods. So now everything is full here. So what's probably going to happen, what I think is going to happen, is that it's not going to want to deliver anything anymore because it is now maxed out. Although the general goods are still going to be continued to be used up. All right, so as I said, I'm no expert here, so some of this I'm kind of feeling out myself. But we're going to figure it out together. So yeah, it is going to continue to bring more in because it is still consuming those general goods. All right, cool. So let's go back to Surveyor for a second and take a look at this next part here. So as mentioned, this is producing palletized goods. Let's open that window back up. So what we can do is I have another industry up here that has a demand for palletized goods. So let's start it really low. And now we're increasing the complexity of this sort of situation here. So what we can do is we'll save that and we'll go ahead and connect this track up. And we're going to add just a little bit of a tail track here just so that I can go past it. So now just with this one boxcar, what I think is going to happen here is that he's going to empty out his general goods, pick up the palletized goods, and then run up to this next industry. So let's actually see if that will happen. Whoops. So he's still got some general goods in there because they couldn't unload everything. So let's get rid of those. Now, what it should start to see is that there's a demand for the palletized goods at this next industry, and it should see that it should be able to grab them from here. But it looks like it might want to make one more run. How do I time warp like that? So in your settings, there is enable debug features. You can check that off, and when you hold down the shift button, it will speed up time. And it works. If you do it at the wrong time, like when the AI is trying to couple or decouple, it can cause a derailment. So just keep that in mind. Let me change this here. We're going to just drop down the amount of goods there. That way you can unload everything. Let's see. I don't have any answers. If there's any Trains Mobile questions, I don't have any answers for them, so sorry. No Paul today and no Zach, so it's just me for the next 30 minutes, at least. Dispatcher for Train Sim 3, I don't have an answer for that. Is it possible to get where we leave the box cars and come back and pick them up? I don't have an answer for that either, I'm sorry. All right, so this guy is clearly not doing what I want him to do. I wonder if this boxcar cannot take the palletized goods. It can. So interestingly enough, it doesn't seem to want to take the palletized goods and deliver them up here for some strange reason. We've got none in here and no reachable source of palletized goods. Did I not connect the track? I wonder if maybe that's the problem. Looks like it's all connected to me. All right, well, we'll let that one keep going, but I want to show you this other example that I have over here. We've got a coal industry set up with, let's see, what do we got here? This is a power plant, so it is going to be demanding coal. So it's going to consume coal. I've got it starting out with 0 coal, but it's consuming a whole lot of coal. Let's just reduce that down a little bit. And we have our coal industry over here, which is consuming diesel fuel and producing coal. So we've got those pretty high up just to start. And what I want to show you is that when we go to run this session here, when we switch this guy over to automatic scheduler and this one, they're actually going to find the cars, the appropriate freight cars that need to go to these industries, and they'll couple to them. It's going to take a second because it's analyzing where the demands are, where the supply is, and all that sort of thing. So it does take a moment to get going. Let's just hold down the shift button and speed it up, and you'll see now that these locomotives are going to the appropriate freight cars. I probably could have made a better example here and put them in a yard, but we can go into the Kickstarter dispatch in the action and take a better look at it. So the green, I believe the green path means that this is an engine that I have selected at the moment, and the red or yellow, I think the red, I'd have to look up exactly what it says. Let me see. I don't want to give you guys the wrong information. I don't know. I can't remember what it said. So anyway, these are going to go over here, and we're going to get some coal loading up, and it's going to take it to our coal facility. Let's see. I see a question showed up in Discord here. Two questions related to Trains Plus. Okay, what do you got? I don't know why it's not showing up in Restream here. There it is. Yeah, fire all your questions at me. I will do my best to answer them, because otherwise I don't have a whole lot of time or a whole lot of information to fill up this live stream with. So once again, this is doing the exact same thing. I have an invisible industry over here that is producing. Oh, I clicked on the tank car. Where is it? Hide that activity log. Don't really need to see all that. So we're going to be producing diesel fuel here. And I started it with at 67%. So that's, I guess, 67% of 1.8 million, I believe. And again, if we go into editing, you can go in and change any of those starting parameters that you want. It's going to produce, I probably should put this on, produces that much diesel fuel. All right. So I'm wondering if maybe this pre-set up this particular freight car just for general goods. I'll have to try to understand what's going on with that. We might have to throw another boxcar on there for the palletized goods. I'm not sure if it'll like mix and match commodities on a similar piece of rolling stock. Is the stream looking like it's lagging for you guys, or is that just on my playback? I'm not sure. I'll have to see what's going on here. All right, so again, we've got empties and loads going back and forth. I'm just going to hold shift to let it do its thing. This took a minute because this industry needed to fill up with diesel in order for it to actually export anything. So everything is going to be sort of dependent on other things. I do believe, since this power plant, I'm sorry, this coal mine here requires diesel fuel, if this ran out of diesel fuel, it will stop producing coal. And we could test that out in a second as well. As soon as it's done doing this drop off, we will drop the diesel fuel down to 0 and see what happens exactly. So Morton says it would be very nice if you could control the loading and discharging time, as today's speed is not realistic. So I think what you mean is that it, as quickly as it is unloading and loading is not realistic. And there are plans, especially for something like this boxcar here. They're not going to unload that boxcar that fast. There are future plans that are being developed right now where unload times or load times might be a little bit more realistic. So instead of this train just driving up and loading or unloading the boxcar at this platform, it will leave the boxcar until it's loaded or unloaded in a certain amount of time, a set amount of time. Maybe it's an hour, 2 hours, whatever. I don't know if it would be a preset parameter or what. But then the boxcar will be noted as ready for pickup, and then the train could come back. So going forward, the hope is that, and the plan is to have it set up so that the trains aren't just in a constant like rotation where they can just load and unload and go to the next industry, load, unload, and go to the next industry. There will be more interactivity going on with freight cars actually, or trains actually dropping off freight cars or picking up other freight cars. So let's go in here. Let's just get this diesel down to 0. And we'll save it. And it's probably going to want to just drop off these last 2. Yep. All right, come on. Will the tool Smooth Underground selected be more useful to create easier trackbed in HDT? So I believe right now with the track smoothing tool, that can actually be configured in the, what is it? The radius. I believe if you change the radius to wider or smaller, that will change how much the terrain is smoothed out next to it. So we could take a look at that at the end of this too, or in a few minutes when I switch back into Surveyor. But yes, I mean, you can make it HDT. It should be a little bit smoother with that, and it is totally controlled with the radius tool as well. So all right, so let's just do this really quick again. Enable editing. We'll take it down, and we'll take this engine, and we're gonna just put them into player controlled right now. So one of the other features that they're looking to implement in the future is if you have several commodities, or like I guess we'll get into it a little bit further, but a larger commodity chain, or like as you can see down here, these are the steps for each, or that the AI was going to take. They have it planned so that you can take over as the driver and continue with the same schedule that the AI was going to do. So you don't have to just let the AI just continue. All right, so we have no diesel fuel in here now. The coal, I believe it's going to stop producing coal because, well, let's go to here. So he's going to unload, he'll go back, he'll take this last bit of coal, and because there is no diesel in here, I believe that the coal is going to stop flowing as well. That is exactly what happened. It only loaded the one hopper and not the other one. So we have no coal in here and no diesel. So if we go ahead and re-enable our diesel train here, might take a second, but he should recognize that there's a demand for some diesel, and there's plenty of it over here. Let's see how long it takes. Is Harry stuck? Does it say Harry stuck? No. So now this guy doesn't know what to do either because there's no coal to pick up. So he's just going to go idle in a second. Yep. We could also view any of the details in here. And I think you could tell it to abandon the schedule. Let's see, I think it'll, yeah, it just got hung up there. Let's take a look while we wait. Let me look at the chat. Brian's dad, yes, you are in the chat. I can see you there in the restream chat here. Okay, we got another question. The current state of the tool paint underselected is bugged. Creates blurry paint in the lowest brush radius. More information on your train's official Discord server. Somebody else will have to look into that. I don't know what the story might be with that. Not entirely sure why this guy is not doing anything. This is Harry. It says, Harry is delivering diesel fuel from multiple industry too. All right, well, he's hung up. So let's just go back into Surveyor here for a moment. This is another little example that I had set up for the video, the TLR video that I did. So you guys will probably recognize this. The thing that makes this a little bit more complicated is that this has multiple outputs, which we can take a look at. This one requires logs as an input. It outputs lumber and wood chips. So if you want this thing to fully operate at maximum capacity, you have to have enough equipment for it to unload the wood chips and unload the lumber, or take them outbound rather, not unload them, while still receiving enough logs to produce all of that. So let's go ahead and fire this one up. And once again, you'll see that he will go over here and connect to the appropriate freight cars. What is the maximum size of a route that the AI can do? I don't have an answer for that, and I skimmed through like dozens of pages of paperwork today, and I didn't see anything that said that there was a specific size. So I'm not sure. I feel like that we've asked that question before and have been told that there is no limit, but I kind of feel like maybe it hasn't been fully tested yet. So that might be something that we find out soon. But, you know, the answer is that I don't necessarily know the answer to that. I can put it in the Skype. Let me see if anybody is around. While we wait for this guy to do his thing. All right, I am being told that there is no maximum route size that TLR will work on. But they're still typing, so there might be more to this. I'll try to keep an eye on all of these things. All right, so right now the answer is no. There is no maximum size that TLR will work on. And again, I haven't really tested it myself even on anything larger than this. Did these guys ever start moving? No. I'm wondering why this guy is hung up. Let me go to player controlled. See if I can just do it manually. All right, now let's turn them back on. Automatic scheduler. Says command status idle, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Okay, so the other part of that answer to is there a size limit is I'm being told there are limits to how far away industries can be away from each other, and limits to the track searching to find a path between industries. So that's, I guess, what the constraints will be. All right, so let's forget about this guy. I don't really know why he's stuck. Did I accidentally turn the demand off? Oh, I did. Yeah, that's why. That's what the problem is. There was no demand. So let's see. Once we enable that and we hit save, I believe that that should fire it up again. All right, we'll let that go and see how we do. So with this lumber industry example that we have here, this guy is going to go back and forth only so many times with logs before this lumber all fills up, right? So if we go ahead and enable editing, let's say the logs are almost all the way full. Once this gets full, even if the lumber is not, no, because the demand is still going to continue. We're still going to use up the logs to make the lumber. So I think what will happen is if this is full and this is full, if the output gets full before the input is full, the demand will cease, I think. We're going to find out. So he is still accepting those logs. Now we are totally full. Wood chips, lumber, and logs. So what we can do is we can go back into Surveyor. And we'll connect up some tracks here. So now I've got these industries configured here. This one is requiring wood chips. So we can put the demand up a little bit higher and starting him with 0. And then over here is going to be a lumber. So start him off with a little bit of lumber and or he'll consume 10 lumber, whatever. I'm starting off with 0. So let's go ahead and just add a little bit more track. Oops. And we're going to need to add some train cars too. So what we'll do here, since there's no signaling or anything like that, let's see what happens if we add some wood chip cars to this. And let's add another engine over here. And I have no idea what what freight car it's going to want to put this stuff in. It's just lumber, so we'll just do a regular boxcar. No. Let's see, what else would it go on? I don't think I have any center beams that are built in. Flat car, probably. Bricks on a pallet. Lumber stack. I don't know if that's the same. Maybe I could just do, maybe I could add it myself. So not just a lumber commodity. What is this that it outputs? This is why I don't use the any of these pre-configured ones, because I don't know what this is. It just says lumber. Somebody's in the chat yelling at me, probably. Let's see. Let me look at the chat here. Any questions? What am I seeing here? Any Trains Mobile questions? I have no answers for. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to try another flat car here. We'll see if it'll just work. I don't know. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. Guess it was not. Oh, it is on this one too. All right, well, I'm blind. All right, so let's let that go. What that should do is should then look at this, take the lumber, bring it up to here and unload. This train should unload these logs and then load up the wood chips and continue on. So let's see how we do. Make sure we've got automatic scheduler enabled. This guy might need a second. We might need to... Let's just lower some of those a little bit. There we go. I don't know if I have enough lead track ahead. That might cause a problem. So now he should get the wood chips. Or maybe not. I don't know where he's going now. All right, he's got his own ideas. All right, so what we'll do in a second is that I'm going to switch over to Kickstarter and we'll just take a look at a map that has been actually properly optimized for it. Oh, he just wanted to unload the rest of those logs, right? Nope. Jeff is stuck. Who is Jeff? They all look the same. Harry, Jeff. So I'm starting to wonder if because I made some adjustments in the middle of the session, if it's kind of screwing things up. And that's my guess. So let me try one more thing here. Let's go back to Edit Surveyor 2. And I'm just gonna grab something, put a container down on the route layer, and we'll go to save, overwrite existing session, overwrite existing routes. So let's save it, and then we'll just relaunch the session. And hopefully this sort of restarts all of them. I'm not really sure why they're all getting hung up now. All right, so we created one big bottleneck. Great. This is a perfect example. At least this guy's still working. All right, yeah, I'm not really sure what went wrong here, why this is sort of hung up the way it is. It's also entirely possible from holding down the shift button that I might have scrambled things up a bit. That guy's doing work finally. All right, but you guys get the idea of how this works. We'll go over and take a look at the Kickstarter. And then I don't really have too much more to go over, so it's just whatever questions you've got. Let's see, which one has it? Kickstarter 22, view sessions, dispatch into action. We'll drive it. All right, so I think for you Trains Plus members, you should have access to this as well. What we can do is just fire up the... Where is it? Session options, Living Railroad, enable it. And then we can go ahead and select this to automatic scheduler. And if we take, let's say one of these other, let's take these two. We can go ahead and put them on automatic scheduler as well, and they will look for freight cars that need to go to places. This guy, because he's already connected, is just going to look at the train that he's already connected to and go ahead and just take off. So we'll follow one of these guys and see what they end up trying to connect up to. And then if you guys don't have many more questions, then that's kind of all I got for this. I mean, I can kind of tell you, I'm trying to think of like some of the other ideas. The passenger operations are supposed to be coming out sometime in the future, in the near future. No timeline on that, but that'll be the next integration of TLR will have to do with passenger operations, which from what I was reading about today on the paperwork that the team provided me, should be very interesting and actually kind of excited to see how that's going to work. It sounds like the idea might be a little bit more along the lines of creating a schedule, finding a route, and then maintaining that route and that schedule, and just sort of like committing that to the game's memory, so to speak, so that it's always... Where's this guy going? Oh, so he's just trying to get around the other guy. So that your passenger trains will actually create a schedule and then stick to it. Which I think is a really cool idea, really fascinating, and I'd like to see that implemented. Especially for like bigger routes, you know. The thing for me, like with passenger operations, is I'm not, you know, super crazy about them just in terms of like, you know, something to do, but you know, if you're running freight, it kind of creates some obstructions on the main line, things that you have to plan around, especially if you have passengers with a passenger train on a schedule. You know it's going to be at the station at this time, and if you're working an industry that's nearby, you have to kind of get out of the way, you know, within a certain time frame. So I think that that's really interesting, and I'm excited to see that implemented. I'm not really too sure what some of the other future features are. As mentioned earlier, I know that they want to set it up so trains will be able to leave cars and cuts of cars in a yard or at an industry, either for another train to pick up or to go to a different industry, or to just leave at an industry for a determined amount of time to load or unload, so that it's not just constantly in these, you know, super fast loops like you're going to see wherever this guy went. Where'd he go? If we select this dude here, we'll be able to see that he's going to go up to this industry here, and he's just going to either load or unload, probably load any of the goods into these boxcars, because we got a mixed consist here. This dude's probably going to just go all over the map wherever he can, and he's just going to go boom, 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 load, unload, next stop. So it definitely would be nice if the trains, or will be nice once the trains can stop, disconnect a few cars, and then leave them. And then once they are ready to be picked up later on, another AI train will automatically see them as ready to go and pick them up and take them on their way. So we'll just let this run for a couple minutes. I've let this session run for a good 2 hours on my computer. Sometimes the AI gets sort of, you know, hung up at signals and running around each other and stuff like that. But for the most part, it is possible to just leave this going for a pretty good amount of time, and it'll just continue to do its thing. This guy's coming over here. I know one of the other features that I read in the planning paperwork was a better way, a better interface to look at what commodities are being picked up or dropped off and where. So, for example, right now I have no idea what business this dude is doing here, right? So I can look, I have to click on the industry in order to see what is outgoing and if anything is going into it. Everything is, there's nothing, no inputs, it's just outputs here. So they're looking to maybe make a unified UI so that you could see everything all together and have a good idea of what is going where, and just without having to go through each industry and click on it, right click on it or whatever, and see, you know, what is there, where's it going. It is really cool to see this whole thing just running in action. Like, I really want to try it out on like my P&B route, for example, because that's a huge route that's got a lot of different industries. I haven't done it yet simply because I haven't configured any of the industries on my map. But that's something that once I do get that, I would like to take it for a spin and actually see how this operates on a very large map. Because right now, Kickstarter, it's like a big map, but it's not really that big. It's not spread out the way that a lot of our own maps are. So, you know, I would definitely like to see it in action on a massive scale. And there's some even bigger maps out there like UMR. I'd like to see TLR, you know, try to run on UMR just to sort of push the limits. And now this is probably where these guys are going to get hung up, because I think this guy wants to come on this track as well. So it's a good old trains showdown. Classic. Oh, there he goes. He decided to go around. All right. It's also because I'm holding down the shift button. I'm kind of forcing them to make some decisions. But what is interesting is the AI does seem to do things a little bit differently each time, depending on what you have running and really what the supplies and the demands are. So if I was to disable any one of these trains, another one might want to try to pick things up. I don't know what this dude is doing. I think he wants to make a delivery up here, but there's not enough track to do it. So there are some limitations, I think, right now that are being addressed. I know this guy doesn't go anywhere because there's no supply or demand for wood chips, or at least maybe like right away. We can try to get him going. Like, I've come in here and just set everything to automatic scheduler just to see what'll happen, and just let it go. I'll just let it like run on my computer for, you know, the morning or something like that. Or if I go to the gym and go to lunch or something like that, just let it run and then come back and kind of see what's going on. But again, you could turn on and turn off these track path displays. You could say no display on focus train, short display on focus train, long display. So I think the short display is just, let's see if I can find one that's active. I think it might be when he changes course, it'll pop up and then it goes away. So I think it's like a short term. But again, I kind of like to have it on personally, like at least when I'm doing stuff like this, when I'm testing things out and just trying to watch where things are going to go. Because you can see here we've got two paths that are overlapping. So it's kind of interesting to just see how they're going to deal with that. Yeah, Midwestern Rails, that would be also a good one. I'd be interested. Yeah, definitely. If anybody is watching and does actually test this out on the larger scale, any of these bigger routes, make sure to let me know, because I haven't gotten there yet. I don't think I have a lot of those maps installed. And then you probably have to go through and configure all the industries and stuff like that. So if you have taken the time to do that, I would love to hear what your experience is. So we're gonna have another little train standoff here. Something else that I heard that they'd like to implement is maybe like a holding type area. So for example, like right now, if I go to this guy and I want her to, or is it a him? It's a her. To just abandon their schedule. Like, I don't want you doing any work right now, to go to a point like in the yard and just sit and wait. Because otherwise, if I turn that off right now and I say not assigned or player controlled, it's just going to stop and it's going to hold it right here. And right now these two are conflicted with each other. Nobody wants to make a move and get out of the way. And we'll just wait and see how long it takes for them to clear it. There we go. But we have somebody else who wants to come in from this direction, I guess. It'd be kind of cool if there was an arrow maybe indicating which direction is the direction of travel. But, you know, not entirely necessary, but it would be interesting. Let them go. We got 2 other trains. Somebody wants to come and couple up to these flat cars. Let's see. It would be nice to be able to specify the type of TLR operation a train could perform, like switching, freight, etc. And I believe that that is something that they're looking into as well. I could be wrong. I want to see this guy who's going to come up and couple to these flat cars here. Where I have no idea where this guy is. All the way on the other side of the map. All right, interesting. Yeah, I do believe that there are some plans to have it set up so that different duties can be achieved with different trains. And you can assign them different roles, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was my understanding. But more importantly, like I said, one of the big ideas is that the dispatching system will lay out like a schedule or a whole bunch of things for a train to perform. And either the AI can perform it or a player could jump in and still see that set of directions that need to be performed, or whatever, the maneuvers or whatever it might be, and then take it over from the AI train without losing the whole list of information. Okay, so it's this guy who's coming. One thing that I did see mentioned a few times was also this idea, I forgot what they referred to it as, but I'm going to call it a trigger, or like a type of trigger that you can place down in a yard or on an industry to create sort of a zone. And I know I'm using completely the wrong verbiage that they used. So don't quote me on exactly what this is or what they're calling it. But essentially the idea would be saying, like, yes, this is a trigger or a zone that is a yard, or, you know, an industry or a waiting area. And, you know, trains can go here to wait for, you know, their next assignment, or whatever it might be. Let's see, this is the guy who I think wants to go into the yard and get those flat cars. We're gonna have another standoff. Or they're just gonna collide. Sometimes when you're holding down the shift button and you're doing this debug thing, it can cause all sorts of weird behavior, which I think is what we're seeing here. But anyway, I think that will be really useful to be able to plop down a few of those triggers, or those little we'll call them zoning triggers, you know, and say this is a classification track, or this is a track that is appropriate to drop cars off and leave them idle until they're needed, as opposed to these trains just running with you know, unlimited amount of freight cars on them and just going from one industry to the next and kind of switching. So again, I don't know what the timeline is for any of this. I was told that it was just in development, so I don't know how long it'll be before we start seeing some of those features, but that's something that I'm really excited for personally is that ability for the trains to be able to leave cuts of cars off at industries or in yards and to set up these zones and holding areas and, you know, even, you know, locomotive servicing facilities and say, you know, once you're done with your cut of cars, you know, drop them off in this yard and then go wait at this servicing facility until you're needed again. So that will be pretty cool once they get that in there. But again, no timeline on that. But I'm gonna let this go for another minute or two. If you guys have any other questions, now's your time to speak up. And otherwise, I got nothing else on TLR unless you guys have questions about it. I think I've mentioned everything that I know. But again, I mean, the idea is that once you load up a map and you enable the dispatching system, it's going to look at all of the industries that are on there, and it's going to look at the supply, the demand. It's going to look at what freight cars are available, if anything actually is available, the proximity of these engines to those freight cars and those industries, and it will begin to make a list of jobs and things to do based on all of that information. Yeah, so as things grow, I mean, I think the plan with TLR is it's gonna get bigger. Like right now, this phase 1 that we have is just the initial sort of like, let's see how it works phase and see how people can make use of it and what things are needed, you know, and what things need to change. But I feel like, you know, it's kind of hard on a map like Kickstarter here. Like, you know, in my opinion, you know, some of the signaling is not very great for AI trains. It could be a little bit better. So I think maybe a better designed route, or maybe we could just take Kickstarter and just redesign it a little bit, but a better designed playground for TLR to start with would be a good place to sort of test it. And then maybe just expand it from there and we can grow it from there. But as far as like map size, I feel like Kickstarter is a good map size. It's just the signaling is not conducive for AI trains, in my opinion. Let's see. How do you make an industry interactive so coal unloads when you arrive at it? That is a good question. There's a couple different ways that you can do it. There are interactive industries that are already built into the game that have a loading or unloading track, and all you have to do is place that industry down and connect your track to it, and it's already set to go. The other way is the way that I demonstrated at the beginning of this video with what's called a multiple industry new, which is a track section that you can place on the ground and connect track to, and then from there you can configure it to produce or consume any industry or any commodity that you want. It can basically be any industry that you want it to be. I don't think that there are any of those on Kickstarter that I'm aware of. I think everything here might be... Let's see if we go to... Oh, I can't even go to enable editing on here. But yeah, that's basically the long and short of how to do that. Most industries... actually, I don't even know. I can't even say most anymore because there's a lot of industries for the current version of trains that are not fully interactive. They're just sort of the building, and then it's up to you to place your multiple industry and get everything configured. So that is the way to do that. But I think that is probably going to do it. Let me switch the screen here. Let me check the chat. There's a problem with the built-in Amtrak P42 DC and the coaches. Do you know how to fix it, or do you know what the problem is? No, I don't. You'll have to check on the Discord for that. Is there a PR route in the download station that has several steel mills on it, no interactive tracks on them? No idea. You'll have to check that out for yourself. I don't know. The forums are usually a good place to ask those kind of questions. There is a lot of content on the download station. So that's always tough. You'll have to kind of do your own search or just ask the right people. And yeah, that's about all I got. I hope that was somewhat helpful for you guys. If you have any more questions or if you have any information regarding if you've taken if you've taken a spin and enabled TLR on larger routes or anything like that, just reach out to me and let me know. I'm kind of curious what your experience has been. Anyway, guys, until next time, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys next time. Hopefully Zach and Paul will be with us next time, but we'll see you. Take care.